So hello YouTube, welcome. This is the first time I've tried this on YouTube, my live Saturday morning webinar with the Presenter Academy. Today we're talking about how to let your personality come through. And oh, there we go, looks like we are live. How exciting is that? Yes, welcome. Let's go then to my is this working? I'm guessing it's working. It looks like it might be working. Yes. As I said, it's the first time I have been on YouTube Live. So how exciting. And let's let in some of my members and see what they've all been up to. Where are we? How do I admit all rather than doing it individually? That's a bit of a pain, isn't it? Oh, I've got to admit them individually. Come on. Okay, so there's one, there's another one, and another one. Hello, 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 hello. How are we all doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you can all hear me this week. Did you miss me last week, guys? Hey? Don't know what happened. Don't know what happened last week. How are you doing? Can you hear me, guys? You can. How wonderful. Makes a change, doesn't it? My goodness. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Good, good, good. Nice to see you. Welcome to our Saturday webinar. What have you been up to this week?
Ryan, can you let me record, please?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, okay. Where are we? Allow to record. There we go. So what have you been up to, Jen?
Oh, I've been doing some cooking, experimenting with that, and some meditation. Interesting.
Cool. Good, good, good. Stuff. And hi, Tiju. How are you? Nice to see you.
Awesome.
Good, good. Are you in the car?
Yes.
Well, be careful if you're driving.
I'm not driving. I'm in the passenger seat.
Oh, well, that's all right then. That's good. That's good. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So,
likewise.
Welcome everybody to our webinar. We are the Presenter Academy. My name is Brian. I'm sure you probably know that because you're already members of our members area. Today, we are talking about, what are we talking about? How to let your personality come through when you're presenting on camera. There's John. Hi, John. Just seen you there. Let your personality come through on camera. That's the name of today's webinar, because one of the things that I found working with people over the years is sometimes they off camera, they find that they're full of energy, they've got charisma, they feel assertive, they feel confident, they're talking in groups, and they feel that they're really getting their messages across and being effective as a communicator. Put a camera in front of them, and then all of a sudden that just disappears, and they look back at their videos and think, oh my goodness, it's just flat and it's sort of lifeless and it's just missing something. So today's seminar or webinar is about how to make sure that your personality is coming across. And one of the things I've also found is very much business people, so not necessarily performers who are actors or people who have got a background in performance, but more and more business people are finding these days that they have to get in front of the camera, whether it just be a Zoom call, whether it be videos, training videos, whatever that might be. More and more people are in front of the cameras and they're communicating, and very often they make the mistake that if they smile, if they show a bit of warmth and friendliness, that they'll lose their authority somehow. They'll lose their credibility, or they won't look professional. In fact, it's the absolute opposite to that. The absolute opposite to that. Because what we'll discover as we go through today's webinar or lecture, I like to think it's a bit of a lecture, what we're going to discover is that if everything that you deliver is just on the same tone, is you're talking on the same tone with no signpost, no expression, no emphasis, no change in emotion, and I'm not talking about the depths of emotion. We're not doing Shakespeare or some real in-depth play or something, but even in emotion we have bits where it's a little bit more light-hearted, bits which are really quite to the point and serious, and bits which we're not too sure about. If you don't have that variety of feel, even in a business video, what you'll find is it's the whole thing is delivered the same, and nobody can find. It's not easy for the people listening to actually find the important bits that you're talking about. So as performers, whether it be business, whether it be TV presenters or whatever, we really must be able to, the first thing, be ourselves. Now, I have mentioned this before, but let's look into it a little bit more, because I've spoken to a few people recently who seem to think that presenting is actually being somebody else. A bit like acting. You put on this persona and become this bigger, larger character. And it's not. It's not. I mean, there is that sort of presenting. There's always character presenting, whether that be people like Keith Lemon, it might be I don't know, Timothy Mallet and all these sort of people. They're playing characters, and they do a very good job of it. It's like the guy who plays Barry Scott, isn't it? Hi, I'm Barry Scott. Bang, and the grime is gone. That's not him. That's a character that he is pretending to be, for want of a better word, as a presenter. But it's not him. Excuse me. The sort of presenting I'm talking about is when it is 100% just you, a bit like, say, Holly and Phil, for example. It's them, but it's highlighted. It's them. I always use the phrase, it's you on a really good day. Presenting is you, but on a good day. And it's so important that it is us, because unlike actors who, if you think about an actor, and I don't know, I think a lot of you probably are actors, actually. If you give us a wave, if you do a bit of acting, yeah, there's a good few of you there waving at me if they're your actors. You'll know that on set, when you're doing TV, when you're doing a film, you get a number of bites of the cake. It's not just one delivery. You start off with an establishing shot. You might do 3 or 4 establishing shots or takes, and then they move, they reset, they come around and do a medium or a close-up of one actor, then they'll come around and do a medium and close-up of the other actors or actors. And what you'll find is, by the end of the day, for the one scene, you may have actually delivered it 15 times, all these different angles and these different positions. So then it's up to the directors and the editors to go through all of that footage and find the best bits. They find the bits that really work. So the chances are they can find within that the truth, if you like, in each performance when you're acting. That's not what we're doing. We get one crack of the whip. Literally, we get one crack of the whip to deliver an entire PTC. And so unless you are an absolute genius, if you're acting, you're presenting, you're never going to deliver a really brilliant delivery. Because actors, even the best actors in the world, get 15 cracks of the whip with all the different angles and setups and what have you. So don't act, because the way to do the very best delivery is to be confident enough, comfortable enough in yourself, in who and what and how you are, to just deliver that information in your own way. So doing it your way and having your personality come through is just essential. And if you've joined me before, you've probably heard me say this before, but you should be totally comfortable and confident in yourself, in the way you do stuff, in your opinions, in your ideas and your thoughts. In the way you are is what makes you interesting. If everybody was the same, what a dull world it would be, eh? Your biggest selling point is your personality, your opinions, your angle, I sometimes call it your you-ness. I'm not even sure if that's a real word, but I'm going to go with it. Your you-ness is your biggest selling point. So don't hide that away from me. Even if you are a business person, you're doing business videos, this is where they tuck away that personality and don't let anybody see it. And they focus on getting the words out in the right order. As long as I can get the words out in the right order, that's good enough. No, it's not. If you're just getting the words out in the right order, you may as well send me an email, because that is what you're offering me, just words. And if I go back to some of the basic communication skills training that I sometimes talk about, who's that? Oh God, I can't remember. Bizarre. But the name of this chap's just disappeared. Who was it? It did the communication. Albert Mehrabian, that's who it is. Back in the 60s, he did this study that has been misunderstood, misquoted dreadfully, and it's been argued, but it's still worth just looking at for us. He came up with that pie chart that said communication, and what he was actually talking about was the context, the underlining meaning of what you're saying, what the feel of is. So, for example, you could say, I really like Brian, he's a great guy. And it might sound like you mean it, or you could say, I really like Brian, he's a great guy. Exactly the same words, very different meaning. So this is what Albert Mehrabian was talking about. He said that 7% of that meaning was the actual words that you use. 7%. 38% is your tonality, the peaks, the troughs, the rhythm, the expression in the tone. And then by far the biggest part, 55%, is your body language and your facial expressions. And that is transferring the feel, the underlying meaning. If you're an actor, it could be your subtext. What do you actually mean behind those words? That's what Albert was talking about. So if that is being the case, if all you're worried about as a presenter is getting the words out in the right order, you're focusing on 7%. 7% of a much bigger picture. And it's not even if you get it right, even if you get it word perfect, you fail by default, because an audience, they believe the biggest percentage. Okay, an audience will believe the biggest percentage. So you could get 100% of 7% right, the words, and then 93% is wishy-washy and not very good, or not actually doing anything. You've just got really solemn face and not showing any emotion, or not having any expression or variety of vocal delivery. And so what are the audience? They're just listening to the words. They can't get your credibility. They can't get your genuine thoughts or ideas behind those words if you're not giving it to them. So you have to be brave enough in yourself, in who and what and how you are, brave enough in yourself to let that come through. And I always say that, unless you're an ist, I've said this before, that I mean a sexist, a racist, homophobic, if you just hate someone or a bunch of people for something they have no control over, that is ugly. Hide it. You shouldn't be a performer anyway. Shouldn't be anything. It's ugly. So that's when you have to lie. And that's when you get into really sticky, horrible places. But I'm sure you're not that. I'm sure you're not. And if you are, I'm going to kick you out. Because if you believe that, we should, the vaccine is a conspiracy, you're entitled to that opinion. It's from what you've read, from how you've understood what you've seen on the news, from what you've been told or subjected to by other people. And you're entitled to an opinion on whatever it is. It could be Brexit in, Brexit out. It could be Labour. It could be Conservative. You could be Marmite Bovril. Doesn't matter. You're entitled to your opinion, as long as it is coming from a good place. And so, when you do come from that place, you are bulletproof. You can stand up and say, yeah, no, I prefer Bovril because this, that, or the other, or I believe the vaccines are actually good because this, that, or the other. You're entitled to that. I don't have to agree with you, by the way, as an audience member, to still continue watching you. if I can see that you believe it, if I can see that you're genuine and you're not trying to trick me or fool me, but it's your genuine opinions and thoughts, then I might go, oh, I wonder why they think that. It could be interesting to get your point of view on why that person thinks that. And that's fine. They're still watching. So great. That's okay. And I've said this before as well. You know, the one thing you want as a, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, on television, or even business in to a certain extent, is you want people to be reacting. You know, if you're doing a TikTok video or a YouTube video, if somebody is sat there watching you going, oh, for goodness sake, that Brian, he hasn't got a clue. He don't know what he's talking about. I can't believe he's just said that. Great. Do you know what? They're going to be back next week to watch again so they can have another moan at me. That's the way it is. Or they may well be going, oh, actually, yeah, I get what he's saying. And that's okay too. What isn't okay is if you're not giving me anything with your tonality and your expressions and what you mean under those words, if you're not giving me anything, I'm going to sit there like that. Who's on Facebook? You know, you've lost me. It's that easy because you're not provoking any sort of emotional empathy with me. And that's the other thing to bear in mind is that we do empathize on all sorts of levels. It's not just the obvious ones where you might watch a love story or something and the main character split up and then years later they get back together and, oh, isn't it lovely? Oh, it's great. And you're crying along there with the joy or the sadness of the main character. How does that work? I mean, we just feel a little bit of what the person is who we're watching is feeling. And that's where actors do a great job, because if they can tap into genuine emotions, then your audience can see it and they feel it as well. And we have to be aware of that as presenters, because if we're just going through the motions, if we really don't believe what we're saying, your audience can see that as well. Your audience, if I go, hello, welcome to the show, coming up over that, it's like, you don't mean that. You don't. You're just saying those words. You're giving me 7%. Don't bother. I'd rather you not say that and be honest than lie to me, because that is your first lie. And your audience don't like being lied to. They like genuine people talking about their genuine feelings, genuine thoughts. And if I'm going, hello and welcome, or if I do one of those fake smiles, hi, great to have you here. It's kind of like, that's just as bad, because I can see as a human being that that is fake immediately. We've been watching people's facial expressions for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. I think actually about 250,000, 300,000 years, isn't it, modern mankind? Depending on who you speak to, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but a long time. So it's inherent in us. And in fact, there was a study done, a guy called Paul Eichmann, Professor Paul Eichmann, again, done in the 60s. Don't know if you've seen that show called Lie to Me. It's about this lie detector who can tell if you're lying or not. Who was it? It was Tim Roth, I think, was the character in it. Was the actor in it. But anyway, Paul Eichmann, he looked into facial expressions, micro expressions, and whether or not we can believe them, how easy it is for them. So he discovered that in 1/25th of a second, we can make a decision on whether that expression is real or fake. 1/25th of a second? That's mad. That's absolutely mad. But we can. So if you're just constantly lying or pretending to be in a good mood or pretending to be enthusiastic or pretending to enjoy what you're doing or think that what you're saying is interesting, I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it. Sooner or later, that mask will fall. Don't wear it. So being yourself and finding your genuine passion, enthusiasm. If you're talking about something that you genuinely don't have enthusiasm or passion about, have the enthusiasm or passion for the job of presenting. You know, it's quite a privileged place to be if you think about it, in front of people, communicating to sometimes hundreds, thousands, millions of people, potentially on television, online, on YouTube, or whatever it is. So have a passion for the actual message. You can find genuine feelings and genuine energy and what have you through your performance, and you actors know this, you just in your mind's eye almost remember a situation or imagine a situation that puts you in the right mood. Is that how you guys do it, you actors? Is that what you would do? You would almost try and trick yourself into feeling happy, trick yourself into feeling sad by remembering a time and how it felt vividly, or remembering or imagining what that would be like. And we can do that. I mean, we don't need to go as far as the actors do. It's we're not going to work that hard, as I always say. The reason I was a presenter is because I'm lazy. It's a lot easier. It's like I don't have to look at the character's background or find out any motivations or discover and work at this character's nuances or expression, because I just use my own. It's very easy when you present because the job's already done for you. It's me or it's you, and you just do it that way. And all you've got to find then is that energy and enthusiasm, is that passion for what you're talking about. And when I say energy, enthusiasm, passion, I don't mean you're constantly on this high here, because that would just be annoying. What I mean is when you're expressing or explaining or talking about something, really it's just slightly enhanced. The emphasis in your tone or expression isn't held back in any way. It's just slightly subtly enhanced, than it more so than perhaps it would be than if you were just sat at home watching TV with your other half. You know, when I'm at home watching TV, I don't often go, "Oh, should we have a cup of tea?" Because it would just, what are you on about? But I would sometimes get that animated when I'm doing a webinar, or when I'm in front of the video. I would actually get quite animated about certain points, not all of them, but certain points I would get that animated about. So it's the emphasis, expression, the tonalities, peaks and troughs, that underlining meaning. I'm making it easy for my audience to understand. And that's what it's about, making it easy for them to understand, to get the message. Because if they've got to work too hard, what do? It's like, oh, who's on Facebook? I think the last thing I saw, it said 50% of your audience are sat watching a TV screen with a mobile device in their hand. I'm pretty sure that's gone up now. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more like 70 or 80% of your audience are sat there with a mobile device in their hand. You give them a reason to look at it, they're going to take it. Okay? And that reason can be, I don't really know what you're on about, or it's not really, it doesn't look very interesting. What you're talking about doesn't really look very interesting. And that's because what you're doing is you're talking on a monotone, monosyllabic way, like this, all the way through. I've just lost a bit of that emphasis, that expression, that enthusiasm for you, the messages that I'm creating. If I'm absolutely honest, if I was talking to somebody in this room right now, I would probably be a bit more like this. This is normal. But actually, it's not particularly engaging as a way of communicating through that lens, because there's so much competition and there's so many distractions. I've got to keep my audience and I've got to keep consistent. So it is me. It's just me being myself, letting that personality through, letting me be seen. And that's where you have to be brave, because in this day and age, on things like TikTok, on things like YouTube, on all these different things, I mean, how many people have had comments that they've gone, oh, yuck, crikey, I didn't realize, oh no. And we can get very sensitive to the negative comments that people sometimes leave. And that being afraid makes us just hold back a little bit, just enough to hide that personality. So if criticism comes, it doesn't feel like quite such a deep wound, because it wasn't really me in the first place. It was me doing something else. It was me pretending. It wasn't me. Because if somebody says, oh yeah, that Brian, I really don't like him, it's kind of like, oh, oh, I don't really want to hear that. That's not my aim. But in a way, we have to have quite a thick skin. And then we have to realize as well that everybody is different. And if somebody doesn't like what you're doing, in my experience anyway, very often it's because they're actually a little bit jealous, perhaps. They're actually, oh, I wish I was a bit more like them. I wish I could be making a YouTube channel, or I wish I was on that radio station or on that TV channel. Why aren't I? Sometimes it's friends and family, because in amongst your friends and family, if you start achieving some really nice YouTube's views, or if you start becoming known on radio, or if you're on TV, there's no excuse for your friends. If they want the same thing, if you can do it, why can't they? And so very often they feel that they can pull you back down. It makes them themselves feel a bit better. And we just have to be aware of that. I think sometimes as a performer, and especially as a presenter, if you're going to put yourself out there on that pedestal, it's kind of like we've got to just be the bigger person. We've just got to be the grown-up and go, listen, you know, those people are out there, they've got problems, they've got issues, however big or small they might be. I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm doing good stuff. I'm trying to get this message across, or that message across, or this project off the ground, whatever it might be. And as long as I'm coming from a good place, it's genuine, it's me doing it my way with that little kick of energy, enthusiasm, that, listen, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. And that's why people will end up watching you, because you are one in something ridiculous, like a quadrillion, trillion probability of you actually being here. As of all of us being here, it's just crazy that we're actually just here in this universe, on this planet, for a speck of time. So celebrate what makes you different and all the rest of it. So is this making any sense here, what I'm talking about? The what's the name of this webinar again? I've forgotten. I've been waffling on for so long, I've forgotten what it is.
You're the host of it. You should know, Brian.
I know, I should know. What's it called, James?
Let your personality shine.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let your personality come through, and do your research and preparation, you naughty people.
I think lockdown's really got to you, Brian. Not only have you turned into a hippie, you're just forgetting things.
Yep. Yeah, that's very true. So letting your personality come through. And that's how you do it. You do it with performance, but a performance which is based on you. It does take confidence. We spoke about confidence a couple of weeks ago. That comes with practice in the right way. It comes with preparation, and it comes with a little bit of experience as well. There are other things that you can just do, sort of NLP training. In fact, I've got a friend who, Ant Webb, who is one of these NLP people. I might see if I can get him on in a couple of weeks to come and talk to us about confidence and how to mentally put yourself in the right place for auditions or preparing for your shows and stuff like that. Because, you know, when you first start out, it is quite nerve-wracking to go to auditions and screen tests. When you've been doing it for a good few years, it gets much easier. It gets easier fairly quickly. But the first few, it can really knock your confidence if you're not prepared for it, because you go in and you'll always come out of an audition and go, oh, I could do it so much better now. Now I know what I was supposed to be doing, and I've had a bit of a practice. I could do it so much better now. So in those auditions, it's about just not holding back, not worrying about whether you're going to get it or not. If you get a job, be on something that you have pretended to be as a presenter, on something that isn't genuinely you, an act that you've put on, then you're going to have to keep that up. Again, it's too much like hard work, guys, honestly. You know, if you're doing a full-time job, you've got to keep up that act for the next sort of 2 years or something. No. Go in there and get the job on you being you, on your personality, based on how you are. And then it's easy. Then you get the right jobs, the jobs that really suit you. And it's easy to actually deliver a good job when you're there, because you can't help but be yourself and be normal and what have you. You can't help but be normal. It's all good advice, isn't it? Be normal. Okay, so where are we up to? Okay, I'm going to just sort of put this out actually, because I've been talking long enough. So, any comments, any questions so far on, letting your personality come through? Does that all make sense, what I've been talking about? John Higgins, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian, and thank you again. Okay, so I'm actually going to be interviewing an actress next weekend for a YouTube clip, which I'm putting together for an article for Film and TV Now. And I did one last week. I actually put it in the chat, which was about 26 minutes. So if you're going to be on camera for a significant amount of time while you're talking to somebody on Zoom, I mean, in terms of how you compose your face on screen, if you're doing it for a length of time, what sort of little tips would you recommend on something like that?
Sorry, I missed the start of that because my speaker was really low. Can you just touch on what the essence of the start of it again, John?
Okay, so I'm interviewing an actress next weekend who's in a top Hollywood. She's in a show with Kate Winslet, this new thing, Mayor of Easttown, and she asked me if I would like to. I met her on a networking thing for NIWIF, which is a New York thing, and she said, "Would you like to interview me?" We were going to do it this week, but she's
Okay.
But what I wanted to know is, I was watching this other one I did last week with this writer-director, Amy Brandis, and I was sort of noticing how my face and my head were moving on screen. So I was just wanting to know, if you are going to be doing something on Zoom with somebody else, what should we be aiming on in terms of keeping your head, your physicality on screen consistent, that it doesn't look like you're nervous or anything?
Yeah, okay. So everybody's doing loads of stuff on Zoom these days. It's part of the job, as you're discovering. But a couple of things. The first things I would say is try to avoid exactly the sort of shot that I've got of you now. So I've got your top of your shoulders and your head. You're bang in the middle of the screen, and there's a real bright source of light above you or just behind you, and I can't really see your face properly. So what I generally try to do is, I've got a window in front of me and a window there, so I've got a bit of light coming on my face. I generally try to get as much of me in as possible so that you can sometimes at least see my hands. And I very rarely sit bang in the middle of the screen. So just a little bit of that positioning and where you're sat. Just make sure that's consistent. Sitting still is important, because the more you're fidgeting around, you start to look uneasy if you're wobbling around all the time. I know I bounce around a bit on these Zoom sessions, but try to at least have some sort of idea of having some stillness. Use your hand. Let that movement come out in your hands as you're doing it. And then really, John, it's really about what I've been talking about. I wouldn't worry too much about, how should my head be? Your head should just do what your head wants to do. If she's telling you a story or giving you an answer which is really about a little puppy dog, your head will go, "Aww," and let it do that. Yeah. And if she's telling you a story about something that is amazing, you'd go, "What?" Okay, let your facial expressions and your body do that. So it's about those genuine reactions to how you would react to somebody if they were in the room with you or they were a friend talking to you. But sometimes it's very easy to not let any reactions come out. And, because what happens when we're interviewing sometimes is we're sat there and we've got a list of questions in front of us, and we're going, "What's my next question? What's my next question?" And we're not really listening. And they answer, and I'll go like that a bit, actively listening. Somebody told me to actively listen. So I'll do a bit of that. And I'm really focused on what my next question is, though. That's all I really care about. There we go. That. And then they stop talking, and I go, "So, what is the blah, blah, blah? What's the follow-up to this?" And I ask my next question. And I've really just put my guests off, because actors especially, they generally don't like being in front of the camera being themselves. It's weird for them. They spent their whole life being other people. So you put an actor in front of the camera, a lot of them, not all of them, of course, but a lot of them really don't like that whole interview experience. And if they come up with a presenter who is giving them nothing in way of looking interested or reacting to the bits that they think are interesting or reacting to the bits that they think are surprising, and you're just there like that, then that sort of just, and then what happens is the overall tone, the overall energy of the whole interview can just go down and down and down. So as the presenter, it's up to you to keep that energy, keep that enthusiasm for what they're saying, to listen to what she's saying and react to it positively when it's suitable, to let her know that she's doing a good job. You don't need to tell her she's doing a good job. That would be a bit patronizing, but looking interesting and reacting, and it's like looking confused if it's a confusing bit.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it does that help with the question?
Yeah, just one comment before I finish is I was looking at how I was doing it. I mean, actually, you picked up on something because I had some questions prepared, and again, I was saying let's get cracking. I was kind of stuttering a bit, but I thought no. So for the next one, what I've asked her is she sent me a bio which I'm going to put together, and I'm going to split my screen with the text and stuff. But I'm just trying to be more conscious with asking questions. So it does make sense. It's just, and also as well, the one I did before, I'm putting a virtual background on it anyway, so this will not be seen. So I think that's going to help anyway. But no, that's perfect, Brian. I will take those pointers on board for next weekend.
Yeah, cool, great stuff. Do you know what? I always have agendas when I'm doing interviews. I might have a few questions as backup, as a safety net. And if there's something obviously brilliant I've come up with as a question, I'd write that down as well. But generally, it's an agenda. It's where do I want to take this conversation? What do I find interesting about this subject matter? And so I would have as many agendas as I would have questions as well. But that's for another day, interviewing. Okay. Cheers, right. John. Good luck with it. Let us know how you get on, mate. Hello, Ronnie. How are you? If you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Brian. I'm so sorry. I'm good, thank you. I'm so sorry I blew my nose and didn't have the mute button on. I just wanted to say, as a comment more than a question, I really appreciate not only the classes, but also the way you configure your background. So it's more like a set, even though it's your house. And I notice every time you come on, you change something, like the cushions at the back. And it feels very TV-ish, TV set-ish, but there's always something that's changed if we look carefully enough. And I don't want to feel like too much of an insider because I think everybody knows how much I love TTA and both of you. But Gemma, I wanted to say something about Gemma, and I've just noticed over the last few weeks, she's been looking brighter and brighter and wearing different colors, and she seems to be very elevated and sort of almost transformed from gorgeous to extra gorgeous. And I just had a chat with her, and she said she's been doing some work with one of the coaches, and I'm able to see just in the space of 2 weeks what a difference it can make.
Oh, thanks so much, Rani. Yeah, do you know what? I've been doing presenting for maybe 6-7 years now, and I've done really well to get to where I am, but I need to be at the next level. And I had an audition for, it was quite a big mainstream TV program a few weeks ago. And I did the audition and I showed, Brian what I had done. And he said, if you don't get it, it's nothing to do with you. It's because there'll be someone else. And I do know one of the girls that's gone for it. And I looked at her and I went, do you know what? If I was the casting director, I would cast you, because I just looked at her image. One of the things is image as a TV presenter. And I was looking at a few things. I thought, right, this is what I need to do, is my whole image, and the clothes that we wear, they can influence when we're speaking to people. And even on the radio, how I'm dressed is how I still come across in my voice. So Lisa Talbert, that was on the call last week, that's why I brought her onto the webinar, was to give you some inspiration about clothing and colours and how we can stand out, especially when we're on Zoom calls and stuff, because all you're seeing is, the top half. I've got to stand out. So I've been working with her. She's one of my contributors on my radio show. And I've really learned a lot about styling and colour, and you can do it really affordably. So if you missed last week's session, make sure you check the members area out. I'll pop the link on there and watch Lisa's session. And I'll pop a link to her website if anybody wants to go on. There's lots of free advice in there, or if you're looking to book a session with her, get in touch with her. But I know for me, and I know I've had a lot of comments from you on my, Instagram and Facebook and stuff, this week. It's really nice to actually hear from you all. But yes, it's made a massive difference to my confidence. And it's just so nice that, you've noticed. Because if you've noticed, Rani, hopefully lots of my other viewers and followers have as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to cry.
Wow. So both of you, thank you.
Thank you, Rani. Lovely. Okay, at this point, do we have any more questions or comments at this stage? Because one of the other things that I wanted to move on to and just touch a little bit on is it's all very well having that ability to be yourself, and when you're doing interviews. Jen, do you want to ask now, Jen? You got a question for us, Jen? Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, it's just a quick one.
That's all right.
But it's like, so when you're like presenting content or like doing YouTube, it's like, how much would you say, you talk about yourself and then there's the content, or it's like you should do the content and if you react to it, your opinions is being yourself, but do you know what I mean? People don't want to hear sometimes so much about one person.
That's true. Yes, absolutely. It depends on what it is you're doing on YouTube, on television. As a general rule, the old rules from television was that you're not the star of the show. You are the facilitator. The item that you're talking about, whether that be a news item, whether it be a toaster, whether it be a guest in the studio, that's the star of the show. So you're quite right, Jen. In those situations, your opinion is more seen in the way you react to a comment. And that's that underlying context of not the words as such, but as your reactions and expressions and the way you sort of look when you're interviewing somebody. So that is how your opinion is possibly sort of come across, because in an interview, especially if it's anything political or anything like that, you're the voice of each side. You're the moderator, if you like, the facilitator. So if, however, you're doing one of these travel vlogs, I mean, travel vlogs probably a bad idea. Just a vlog, where I've seen some of them where they just sort of go, right, well, I've been shopping today and I've got this because I love blue, and this is the blue version, and I love this because I wear this out when I'm going clubbing and all the rest. And I think, why am I watching this? But thousands and thousands of people do watch it. So if you do get a big following who are just following you and they're interested in you, then your opinions and what you think's interesting and all the rest of it is 100 times more important than if you were presenting a show. If you're talking about a toaster or something, you can say, oh, I really like this way this does that, or I like this bit. That's a slight opinion. That's an opinion on what it is. So you have to judge it when you're talking about presenting. There are so many different genres. There are so many different platforms that it's very difficult to give you that's how you do it. Because who's to say that's how you do it? Who's to say what's right? What is right is if people are watching it and they're watching it all the way through, and they come back and watch the next episode, and then they come back and watch the next episode. So I guess that's right. But then it just depends on what it is you're doing of how you achieve that. And really, that's all I'm saying. The basic delivery, really, of old school presenting, and then you take from that and adapt it to the type of presenting you're doing. So these vloggers and people on YouTube, they really don't follow any of the rules at all that much. Apart from they're usually quite big energy
Big
big
personality.
personalities. Yeah,
So it depends on the style then.
it does depend on
That's
the
what I
style.
get.
It really does. Yeah, yeah. But
Thanks.
you're absolutely right. You can't let your opinion out on everything because you're not the star of the show. Yeah. So super. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks.
The thing I was going to go on to say there though was there's another consideration. And it's all very well saying, yeah, you got to be natural because if you are just yourself, people can see it. If you are like I'm talking now, I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing with my hands. They just do what is naturally comes to me. The trouble comes is when we have a script to deliver. That's where it can get tricky for a presenter because the whole process of communication, the whole process of you, look what I'm doing with my hand now. The whole process of communication is in my head, I'm formulating my next sentence. I'm thinking of where I'm going. And my hands, believe it or not, are a huge part of that. They are formulating the sentences which are coming out. They're helping me formulate that. And that looks natural to you guys because you're used to people talking like that. However, if I now was to start delivering a script that I have learnt off by heart in my head, I have no need to formulate because I know it. It's in my head. I've learnt the script. And so very, very quickly, people go, what do I do with my hands? My hands feel really weird and awkward. Anybody ever had that when they're presenting to camera? If you've learnt the script, that's why. Because you have no need to formulate those sentences. They're already there. So the only way to get around there is just to get used to the process. I call it use micro movements. So you stand still or sit still as much as you can. Not I just sit still. I'm not saying you can't move at all, but don't be fidgety. And do little micro movement. I'm going to put my hands here. This is an unnatural place, guys, but I just want to show you what I mean. So it could be a bit of that. Just get used to doing a bit of that. Try to vary it if you can, but just get used to that. Every couple of seconds or so, just get used to that little movement. It feels awkward at first. It does. I know it does. But before too long, it just starts to feel normal. And then when it feels normal, you can then just let it happen. But the hands and the movement are always the first question. What do I do with my hands when people get in front of that camera? What do I do with my hands? It's a funny question. Never asked it before, I guess, in real life. What do I do with my hands? Do what you like with them? But it is about just getting used to that little micro expressions when it comes to just talking to the lens. It suddenly becomes a lot easier when you turn around and start talking to a guest, because he kind of then the situation becomes real again, and you start formulating sort of responses or ideas in that conversation. But just looking into the barrel, into the lens, that's where the problem is, because if you've learned a script. Any other questions, guys? Where are we up to? Any more questions on any sort of presenting, really? Your personality coming through or presenting? I'm going to open it up to anything, really. Ask me anything. Ask me what I'm going to do later on, what pub I'm going to.
I was going to cover a little bit about TikTok because so many people are messaging me about TikTok, and
Okay.
you know it's becoming a massive platform. I mean, it was already big before lockdown, but what it is it's giving non-performers.
Sorry, James, just before you go into TikTok, can we just I'll ask Rosie, because she's got a question there, because it might be relevant to what we've just said. So hi, Rosie, how you doing?
Hey, morning everyone. It is about the hands, and it's a bit more of a comment, and you invited comments, so I'm going to go for it. We were doing some training recently. I work with a group of educators that normally present kids live on the day in the venue we work at, but we've been switching it on online and into classrooms. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed is the elevation in performance between someone just talking like this and then someone making the effort to put the hands in, we're calling it like our box, and bringing those hands up into here. Mm-hmm. And particularly because we're talking about kids as well. And another thing we noticed is because we're streaming, mean, I don't know if you find this as well, Brian, but sometimes the internet cuts out, they're like, might be a little bit glitchy. So we have to do quite slow movements. Otherwise we get a little bit motion sickness as the kind of streaming comes through. So like quite slow, divisive hands. So I thought it was interesting because you touched on it, and it's something that I've really noticed recently as well.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Rosie. With children especially, you know this, it's bright colours, it's big movements, but at the same time, it's not talking to them like they're children. Oh, they don't like that. They don't want a teacher or a parent to watch and take them through the show. They want a grown-up friend, and they don't want you to sound like you're patronising. So, hello, children. How are you? No, not going to work. They'll hate you. They'll hate you for it viciously. But yeah, thanks, Rosie. You're absolutely right. Nice to see you. So sorry, Gems. Yeah, you were talking about TikTok. Go for it.
I was going to say, when you do any children's courses, they love you, Brian. They like follow you around.
I know.
Piper at Hamilton.
I have a theory on that. It's like, do you know, if a cat comes into a room, and the cat always goes to the person who is least interested in him or her. And the cat wants to jump on, like, go away, go and sit on somebody else. Go, no, you're getting hair all over me. I think kids are exactly the same. They are attracted to people who are least interested in them because they can see that it's genuine. They can see that you're not trying too hard to impress them, or you're not trying to make them like you. They're very sensitive to that. And in a way, you can think of that as your adult audience as well. If you're trying too hard to make them like you or to impress them, they can see it and they don't like it. So don't try too hard. Just enjoy yourself, do it your way. But yes, thank you, Gems.
I've just embarrassed you. Yeah, I was talking about TikTok because it's a massive platform. It was big before the pandemic. It's even bigger now because it's giving non-performers a chance to express themselves. And yes, there is a lot of the videos out there where there's families doing dances and stuff. I tend to scroll through them, but what I try and do is pick out, performers that are really being creative and are really being different. And I've been following Hannah Lother. She was on my show last week. So she is a musical theatre actress. She lost all her work when COVID came around, ended up working in Tesco, and followed on TikTok. She's hilarious. So she would do things that reminded me of my musical theatre career in Tesco, and she's just doing these musical theatre songs and stuff, and she'd been doing heaps of them for months and months and months. And then one of her followers had tagged in Rylan, that does Supermarket Sweep, and says, "Oh, I think this is you." Rylan then shared it to his fans and said, "Oh, this is so me." And all of a sudden she had all these fans. I mean, I can't remember the last following that she had on TikTok, but she's massive now. And, but it took her months to sort of build all these videos up. She's been on TV. She's got brands approaching her now. One is Donut Time, where they're now, because Donut Time are very Instagrammy, they're very TikTok. It's a younger audience. And they had been watching Hannah, approached her, and she's now doing the same videos that she was doing for Tesco, but it's doing it for Donut Time and getting paid for it. So she's created work for herself, but through this platform. And another guy that I've just interviewed, he's going to be on my show next week, is called Greg Burks. Look him up on Instagram. He only started, look him up on TikTok. He's on Instagram as well. But he said he's been developing Instagram and Twitter for years, didn't get anywhere. 3 weeks ago, joined TikTok, started doing these sort of, again, musical theatre where he's on the piano. And he does one about the Tory party to the Disney theme tune. It's hilarious. A few swear words in that. But he does one about the Line of Duty. And of course, Line of Duty is massive at the moment. And that's just exploded. And he's got over 25,000 followers within 3 weeks. But it is his personality that's coming through. It is his creativity. I was asking about his videos. he gets ideas at 1 o'clock in the morning. It takes him a while to film and write down and get everything. So don't expect that it's just instant. And Hannah was saying the same thing. She says, you know, I do have to do my research and think how things rhyme. And she might start a video and not finish it for a few weeks because things maybe haven't quite flown right. And, you know, it is taking time. But there are other people on TikTok. I follow lots of property experts, and, you know, I'm sort of looking into sort of stocks and shares. I find that quite interesting. There are people giving all that sort of information out there, but they are doing it more in an informal and fun way. Another one that I watch is Dr. Julia Smith. She talks about anxiety and things like that, but it's in a very fun way. So you're still getting that serious message across, but people are consuming it in a fun and light-hearted way. So if you are a creative or a performer or even a presenter, you have that expertise, knowledge out there, think about how you can put that onto TikTok, you know, and start off small. You know, don't beat yourself up if, you know, it doesn't go viral within a few weeks. I mean, did anybody see that video that went viral? The woman that fell on, I'm sorry, I laugh about it every time I think about it. She fell on the chest of drawers that she just bought on Facebook Marketplace, and she was carrying them back to her car, and she fell on them and it just destroyed them. It was just hilarious. And I mean, that was one of those Ring doorbells that had caught that moment. But again, she's a star for 5 minutes. But you know, you could commentate on that video, and, you know, and that was another one. There was a commentator, sports presenter. He lost all his work last summer, but he started commentating with his dogs, with a toy. You know, it's just, you know, he was creating an opportunity for himself there. Brian, I can hear like
crickets.
Yes. Does anybody else hear crickets?
Is that? They've stopped.
That's me. And it's
okay.
I thought it was me there.
So anyway, thanks, James. Listen, before we wrap up, there's a couple of points that have just come up in the chat there. So Laura, I don't know where Laura is. She was mentioning that somebody said to her to enhance one word in a sentence to sort of bring it off the page a bit. I guess if you're doing like an auto cue or teletext, or you're reading from a script, it's a good starting point. But actually, as you just get used to sort of highlighting a word, think of the words that actually mean something to you. Look for the connection with the script, with the words. Look for the words like, if there's something there that is sort of absolutely, then that's to me an obvious one. This is absolutely mad, or whatever. It seems that there are certain words that will work and there's certain words that won't work. But I think as you go on and you become more advanced with teleprompter, with reading off a script, it really is a matter of getting that script beforehand and finding a connection with the material, with the content. How do you feel about that line? Even down to the hello and welcome. How do you feel about that? And as I said right at the top of this webinar, if you feel I couldn't care less if these people are here or not, then don't say it. Don't lie to them. Scrap that. So you've got to have some sort of connection with those words. And if you've got your opinion, the way you feel about this sentence or that point, then those are the words that will naturally be highlighted. And it's a little bit more as you go forward than just randomly picking a word in a sentence and punching it through. You might get away with it for a bit, but you can't go on like that. You have to have a solid connection to the script that you're using. I hope that answers your question a little bit there, Laura. And Tiju, are you not there yet? I don't know where you're going, Tiju, but are you still driving? You're in the passenger seat. Sorry.
I'm not driving. Yeah, I'm not driving at all.
Yeah.
So just what I wanted to say about the person that was saying that somebody said that you should try and emphasize one word in a sentence. I think that is mechanical, and you can't approach this mechanical. You have to feel everything you're saying.
That's it.
And once you believe in what you're saying and look at the meaning of every word, you don't need a formula. So having a formula and being mechanical makes you robotic, and it's to do with feeling, and you've got to emphasize what the word means. And I think a good tip is to practice in the mirror, practice reading out what you're going to say in the mirror, and try lots of different emphases. I don't know that's a word, but it is now.
Emphasis. You're like me. You're making words up. Fantastic. No, I agree with you. I think it's a good start to, if you find that when you first start using auto cue, you are very monotone, then just start getting used to expressing words, enhancing a word and stuff like that. But as you go forward, just as Tiju says there, I think there has to be a connection with the script. Otherwise, it's mechanical and robotic. Yeah,
Just quickly, a good check is egg, chips, and beans. So if you're reading something out and you could have been saying egg, chips, and beans, that will give the same emotion. Then you know that you've got to work on it. Yeah. So just think egg, chips, and beans is what I'm saying. Could I have been saying egg, chips, and beans? I'm sure that makes sense.
I'm hungry now. I'm blinking hungry now. Thanks,
Egg, chips, and beans.
I'm trying to fast today. Going for an 18-hour fast, and now all I can think about egg, chips, and beans, for Christ's sake. God.
Brian, there was no way that you were going to fast. If you're going to the pub this afternoon, beer garden, there'll be crisps, there'll be a Scotch egg.
Oh, there will. Thanks, TJ. Good to see you. Okay, Valbona, is that? If you want
yes, it's me. I really apologize. I can't open my camera today because I woke up with a swollen cheek.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh well, I hope it's okay.
Terrible pain on my teeth. But Brian, I've been into your presentations few years ago. You're brilliant. Thank you for presentation today. Besides that, you are very inspiring as a person, because I took kind of note of all the things, very powerful things that you were saying.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm not giving out any discounts.
No. Okay.
I'm joking. Sorry about that.
I am a TV presenter already. I had my own TV shows in Kosovo. I live in London. I'm British. I've been living here for a long time, but then I moved back to my country of origin, and I had shows there. And now I am doing a TV community show here. The thing is, in my experience, I never had any trainings. I did attend some of your trainings after I started. So when I first started, I didn't have any trainings. All I had was the passion to do something else. As a presenter, we have to take that, we have to own it what we're doing. If we have to have passion for what we're doing. And I found it that I always make a lot of research about the topic I'm discussing, the guests that I have. I am like a detective. I find out as much as I can about these persons that I'm going to interview, because it's not only about me showing myself in the best light, but about showing the other guests as well in the best light. And that's what I managed to do, because I sort of meet with them beforehand, or I talk to them beforehand, or I read between the lines as well. So it's all about, like every job, you have to be really passionate about it. Yes, looking good, wearing the right colors, it makes a difference. But the first part, the 70%, is about the energy that you are transmitting to others. It's about, and people can see if you're honest, and people can feel when you're genuine. And I think even showing a bit of vulnerability, being vulnerable, it's okay. I used to make mistakes live in the show, and I used to laugh with myself about it, because I didn't really care how much I looked. I cared more about the message that I was conveying through my TV shows. And it was a powerful message, because my shows were mostly about changing mindset, fighting prejudices, and empowering the marginalized groups in our society. And I have such a great passion to do that in England, but I'm a single mom. I came here, moved back in 2017. I don't have the right network. And sometimes my only, I am a confident person, but I think I'm lacking a bit of confidence because I'm not English speaker, native English speaker.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hear you, and I totally agree with what you're saying. That passion is important. It has to be genuine. You can't do it over the top constantly, because that's just as tiring as somebody who is no energy and enthusiasm. So it comes from a genuine place, absolutely. And your research into guests and your preparation for a show is essential as well. And so I can't agree with you more on that. When it comes to your accent, I think you need to embrace that. I think that is part of you. I think that is part of your selling point. You're different. I mean, some presenters, they play up to accents on TV or video or anything like that. So I'm thinking about who's that guy on? Is it Gino or something? On This Morning, he will play. He will actually make his accent even stronger for just to reinforce his brand, to reinforce that he's Italian, that he's different. Now that's great, because that's a light entertainment show. If this is a more serious thing that you're doing, again, I wouldn't worry too much. We can understand what you're saying, and that's absolutely fine. If the only problem comes really is if it knocks your confidence, or you're a bit underneath somewhere, there's a little bit of stress for you about it. There shouldn't be, by the way, because I understood everything you said, absolutely fine. But there are places you can go to for your own personal, just to build your own confidence in your vocabulary, or your accent, I should say, not vocabulary, where you can do some, elocution lessons or stuff like that. There'll be voice coaches, and they might just give you a different edge. I don't think you need it, but if for you feel you need it, then those sort of trainers are out there. I'm afraid I couldn't recommend one because I really don't know any. But yeah, no, I actually agree. So thanks, Valborn. Thanks for your kind words. And preparation and being genuine. I mean, it's the name of the game. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you very much, Brian. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to hear you.
Next time I'll show my face without swollen cheek, hopefully.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. So do we have any last questions then before we wrap up today's webinar? Anyone? Any comments, questions, queries? Okay. Well, listen, it's been lovely to see you all here. Thank you very much for joining us. As I've said, we are launching our new website very shortly, and we'll be having our new Posh members area. I'll keep you updated. It's probably going to be over the next, I say that every week, it's probably going to be over the next week or two, but it will be coming, and we'll let you know. I think it's going to be a promise to buy a copy of the book. So what we need you all to do is buy the book on the same day on Amazon, and then it goes to #1. I've got to somehow orchestrate that. I don't know how to do it, but I'm just sort of seeing if I can do that. And then I think £1 a month for you guys. The actual price is going to be $9.99 for new members. And of course, if you've got anybody who wants to join, affiliates and stuff like that, that would be super. But for this week, that is us all done. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Don't forget tvtrainingacademy.com. You know it.
Right.
Oh, hello.
It's the May holiday next week. Thought you were having a break.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Do I get a Saturday off?
I don't know. You're the boss.
Oh, okay. So it's a bank holiday weekend. So it'll be the following weekend. Okay. So not next weekend, then the following weekend. So have a great couple of weeks, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Much love, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care. Cheers, guys.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.